No, no. Daddy, not Jesus, Daddy told me. He said, you've done all I required of you, and I will require no more.
You get to find out everything about my body. So you know me so intricate. And then you better know your body as a female, so intricate. How are you going to find that out if you can't go into the bedroom not looking on a deed or an act or a drive or a... How are you going to find yourself out and discover yourself as a unto your lover?
Somewhere between earth and heaven, fool's paradise. That's what they say of my heaven.
That's the first thing Jesus ever preached. Sex.
They were too carnal, so they had to do it.
Welcome back to KSRM's Justice on the Kenai. Here's Katie Elkin.
We're talking this morning with Kenai's District Attorney.
It wasn't a female radio reporter, was it?
I'm sure you probably know who it was.
How do I put this politely? I investigated her for quite some time while I was there, which caused us to clash. She was a member of a group that I would call a cult in Nikiski, which is pretty close by.
I would say the thing that you're talking about was brought up to me by a lawyer who said it in passing when I was like, hey, Katie told me this. She's involved in some weird sex cult or something.
That is like, exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Did you ever do any, reporting that reached the news desk about this, or cite her at all?
About the cult?
The cult thing.
No, that's one of my greatest regrets of my career is not managing to get that story out before I left the paper. I still have all of this tape, photos and interviews and all sorts of stuff, and I just did not manage to do that before I got out of there.
My intentions were never to leave that place.
Why?
Because I would lose my job, I would lose my wife, possibly lose my family, all my income. Losing my wife would mean losing everything. Why would I leave that place? I would lose all my relationships within the body out there.
Did Mark claim to be God at home, or claim to be the stuff he said in...
He claimed to be Christ in the flesh come again.
We've got a block of land here that is about 17 acres, but it's long and thin, and it's right beside the shoreline, and that's where we are at the moment.
They purchased a piece of property.
Where is that?
It is just south of Agrium. It is a piece of property that this new pipeline coming in is obligated to buy. And my understanding, it is worth a hefty sum of money right now.
You can see that? That's an active volcano right there in the middle of the picture. And it's about 10 or 15 miles away.
It was presented to us like this. We have a piece of property that we'd like to invest in. It will be for the body for generations. For us to, initially when Mark came up here, he talked about that this place right here would draw thousands. And so we need to prepare a place for the thousands that are coming.
Each of us has built our own tent or building of some description. This is mine. Looks a little unorthodox, but we got it up. So there's an $800 tent, but here's the whole point of why it's here. So I've got an $800 tent with a $1 million view. This is part of the area that's been allotted to me, and I'm the only one that has an actual yard. Everyone else has forest.
So what it was at first it was an investment property, but it was that everybody just give whatever they had to give, whatever they could afford to give. Nobody, even if people gave more than other people, it was equal giving, whatever the Lord put on your heart to give. So for the past 7 years, it has been just an area I have always trusted them, just completely trusted them. The intentions to use our labor, use our money, sell the land and take off, or whatever they're going to do. Doing some background checking on that piece of property, I went and consulted a lawyer just to find out can they even do this? Because the property went into a nonprofit organization under Mark's name.
Do you know what the name of the nonprofit is?
Sought Out.
So going along here, we call that the corporate tent there. That's one that was put up earlier, and that's one we all get together in whenever we're going to get together. And then everybody got to choose their own style. And there's that little tent there is a temporary one. He bought a tent the same size as mine, but he hasn't had time to put it up. Derek, the guy I work for, the logging guy, that's what he went for. Apparently he's always wanted a teepee, so now he's got one. The challenge for him is that he's got 5 kids and a 6th one on the way, so he might have to put a second story in, or even a second teepee. We'll see what happens there.
Okay.
Yeah, I got connected with it when I was 19, and I didn't know any better. And it wasn't like that in the beginning. It changed.
So coming up into the picture now is my second wife. You've probably seen pictures of her before, but I'm not proud. I'm not ashamed. There she is again. There's one of the other buildings. He got started earlier than the rest of us, so he got a whole building. But there's another tent there. Just to give you an idea, this on the right is actually a cliff. We call it the bluff. There's the view again. Down there, if you see, there's a truck down there. That gives you an idea of how high off the ground we are.
They do these things called washings where they would, it sounds like a perversion of Passover to me, where you wash people's feet and instead, everybody gets naked and they wash each other's bodies. there's on-record testimony about this. They basically ended up trying to like hash out in front of the judge what was abuse and what wasn't abuse, and if anybody had ever like done any of these washings to any of the kids that were in the church. It's really, really bonkers stuff.
Are you ready for this? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Understand that if there's any contention in you, you will get cut off from this place. And it is heavy, heavy, heavy pressure to do whatever. I would have never, under normal circumstances, been through what they put me through or did what they had me do. We were around the fireplace, or the campfire out on Sawed Out, and he came out and he said, told me that I was up. It was my turn. And I had no idea what they were doing in there.
You were at church at the time?
We were on a camp out, a church camp out. You call it church. Cult camp out.
Well, I mean, it's
yeah,
called a church.
Sure.
Were at church camp out before you.
At Sawed Out on the property.
And they just came to you and said it's time.
It's your turn. I walk into the yurt, and Mark and Gary and two ladies, Leanne and another lady named Stephanie, they are dancing around in a trance-like state, speaking in tongues. I get pushed into just a few feet in front of the door, and he began to disrobe me.
So going along here, we call that the corporate tent there. That's one that was put up earlier.
My father-in-law, my boss, and the elder in the church took my clothes off of me.
Why did you let them do it?
My job, my family, and basically being in that body, that I would be cut off. And there was still at the time, there was this, I will do anything for God. And then Mark took his bare hands and washed my whole body. Fondled me for a bit. He felt every part of my body and washed me.
Did he talk to you while he was doing it?
He was speaking in tongues. He did. When he got down to my private parts, he said, "Is this defiled? Is this dirty? Me touching you here?" And then after he was done, and he said, "Now, touch my body. Touch every part of my body."
Did you?
Mark told me that my son was the first one that he washed, and he stood there naked in front of him and Gary, and they washed him from head to foot.
Including genitals?
Yes, sir.
Did the doctrine of the group change over time?
I would say in the past year and a half ish, the doctrine got very sexual. It became to where the word got twisted into sexual perversions, and it got really weird.
Lois said that she knows that their 16-year-old daughter went through a washing. We don't know who did it.
Yeah, and he used to be my Wi-Fi person and my cable guy until he did what he did, and I said, "Get off my land. Get away from me, you filthy thing."
What did he do exactly?
Well, they had a sweat lodge, and then they did all kinds of stuff in that sweat lodge.
There is sex stuff that does not compute. That starts with Mark.
I know. I was there, dude. I know.
That this is Mark's shit.
Yeah, but can we just take a pause for 1 second, because you're getting really worked up and upset about this.
I'm totally upset because Rasha just talked to me and acted like I was on the fucking moon.
Hold up 1 second, okay? Because I'm a sexual assault victim, right? And I'm just coming to terms with that this week. So if we could just dial the tone of all this down a little bit, that would be great.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I understand this is upsetting to you as a story, but this is my life.
So here's our site, and that's what we're doing. Is it church? Is it work? Is it fellowship? It's all three. This is how we do church. We don't need no stinking level.
Wow.
But yeah, it's got several different names. It's been registered legally as Sought Out for a while, and then registered as Veritas. I'm certain they have a different name now, because every time someone gets kicked out and they feel exposed, they kind of change the legal stuff so they can't be sued.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure they've got another name now.
I don't see how they're alive because you blaspheme the Holy Ghost. You have to die. You have to. Quickly. So I'm calling forth on Jared. I already called today. He's dead.
Yeah. It's over.
He will not last a month.
It's long and thin, and it's right beside the shoreline, and that's where we are at the moment. As many of us as have been able to in the little church are working, producing stuff. There's Ted. He's the guy who owns the cabin we saw. He's spraying fish. There's one there. Chris is making moose antlers. There's Derek. He's the boss. He's the one who runs it all. That clear one's a hell of it. These are the trees that I make. I'll put one up there so you can see it.
That's what I'm
In
saying.
Australia.
They went somewhere else. They are not here.
Yeah.
The tents and stuff are all gone, and no, they're not around. Yeah.
I think there's still totally room for a story in there because a lot of those people are still around.
Mm-hmm.
I think the head of the church moved to Hawaii, so I don't think he's there anymore. But they're all still a really tight knit group. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's still some weirdness happening.
some kind of tropical paradise involved.
Yeah.
There's property in Hawaii and then property in northern Washington state.
Yeah.
I've heard that they moved down to Washington. I know that if you looked up there in northern Washington, there's a small town that's in the middle of nowhere. I think right on native land or by native land, that is owned by a Mark and Ruthie.
Initially, when Mark came up here, he talked about that this place right here would draw thousands. You know, that ultimately people will just be drawn to this place. And so we need to prepare a place for the thousands that are coming.
I'm certain they have a different name now.
It's really weird to think of them as they are now.
Yeah.
They're not the same people, you know, they're monsters.
I had an encounter with God the day that I met Paul, which is the reason why I'm involved. I know you said you didn't want to know, but I mean, beyond words, beyond reasoning, beyond, you know, and when he speaks to me like that, I'm like, I'm in. I don't know what we're doing, but I'm in. Have you ever had encounters like that?
Also,
I'm just saying, I wouldn't trust I wouldn't base your story on what other reporters are saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard anything since that one time. God, I don't remember how long ago that was. That had to have been at least a good 6 years.
Yeah.
7, at least.
The cult never made, like, the newspaper.
It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, I recognize that name.
Which one?
Gary Parker.
Gary.
He used to come down and fix my C-band.
You should never be late for a blank.
My C-band for my TV.
Yes.
He lived right down the road.
There's a company called Satec. I think that was a company.
SatTech.
SatTech, yeah.
Lived right down the road. God, I haven't heard anything from him for years.
Yeah, he's in Tonasket, Washington now.
Tonasket?
Yep.
Been there. I'll be to go to hell. He was pretty good when it first started, then he got, if my memory serves me right, he had a young gal that was living with him,
Yeah.
him and his wife.
Yeah.
And his wife was really super nice.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
And yes, and we talked to her 2 or 3 times, and she said, well, I said, he's supposed to be down here working on my TV, and she says, Well, I'll relay the message. He's not here at this moment. Then I heard that he had this young gal that moved in there and all this shit. And then I heard that he was messing around with her.
Yeah.
And then him and Kat was split. But yeah, she was a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Mark did become God, even for me. That he was the Son of God, and there was no difference between him and God. And his words are the words of God.
Very, very charismatic. It's very scary. Like looking back at Jonestown and watching that documentary and seeing all that shit. Like they say stuff in there that I heard growing up, and like it makes my skin crawl to this day.
So tell me, what you're married?
Well, kind of. Drama being drama, there was never an actual ceremony or vows or rings or name or anything like that. I never took his name because we were in a cult, and cults don't like people actually being attached to each other. They like to keep all the control for themselves.
Yeah.
So we ended up forging an application for marriage license because he wanted to move because the cult had. God, it's such a long story, man.
Yeah.
Mark goes, what if we were having sex? Craig, would you have a problem with me and Gary having sex with Melissa? And I said, she's sovereign. She can do what she wants to do. That she's sovereign? That she can do what she wants to do? Yeah, she can do that. Do I have a problem with it? Gigantically.
Yeah, no, the group is in Australia right now.
The cult?
Yeah, my mom is actually married to Katie's dad right now.
No way.
This is McTermite's Quinn here. We're out in the forest, in the bush, as you can see, and we're on the lookout for some of these little buggers that you know all about.
Yeah, no cap. You should actually talk to my dad, dude. A lot has happened. He's still he's been talking to a pastor in Australia that has had my mom and Peter go in there church and try and get people to leave.
Really?
Yep.
Somewhere between earth and heaven, fool's paradise. That's what they say of my heaven. They tell me, fool, you've fallen too much in love. Your heart will tumble down and leave you above, stumbling around.
My photos on the wall. Put some up over here too. There's my boys. See if I can get a angle where there's no glare. Nope, I can't.